Hi, my name is Dr. Robin Kay. I'm from UOIT in Oshawa, Canada, which is just outside of Toronto, Ontario. And I'm going to be talking to you about the use of mathematics video podcasts for at-risk students. And this is a formative analysis. Historically, at-risk mathematics students haven't fared well. Over the past 40 years, there hasn't been substantial gains made for this group of students. And in particular, Ontario, which consists of almost 8 million residents, the number of at-risk middle school math students appears to be increasing, with estimates as high as 46%. If we take a look at video podcast use, it's also been increasing, but at an alarming rate. As of January 2012, YouTube has been hit 4 billion times per day. That's an amazing number. Now, of course, not everybody's looking at for math video podcasts. I suspect that not that many are, but many do use Khan Academy to learn new mathematics skills. So this could be one possible support for at-risk mathematics students. The instructional video clip, which is about 2 to 3 minutes long, and you can use video controls. Well, there are video controls, stop, start, play, so they can pause the clips and go at their own pace, and they're web-based, so there's easy access, and they provide nice explanations. So let's look at a sample clip.
Today we're going to talk about exponents. When numbers are repeated in multiplication, we can write them in what we call exponent form. For example, we can rewrite the following repeated multiplication in exponent form. Now, it's very important at this point that we realize that repeated multiplication means that the same number is multiplied by itself over and over again. So
that's the kind of clip that a teacher could make for his or her class. In our study, we gave students a pre-test about the concept that they were going to learn, and then they watched a video clip and we gave them a post-test. We also asked some attitudinal questions about the use of video clips. Our sample consisted of 36 middle school students, 21 boys and 15 girls, formally assessed at being at risk. Now, this was from a small community consisting of 85,000 people. The students were age 10 to 13, and you can see there's a breakdown from grade 6, grade 7, and grade 8. So roughly equal numbers in each of those. The topics covered were exponents for grade 6 students, circumference for grade 7 students, and multiplying monomials for grade 8 students. Overall, the results indicated that almost 7 out of every 10 at-risk mathematics students, specifically 67%, agreed or strongly agreed that they liked using video podcasts. We also did a survey of their attitudes, focusing on explanation, learning features, pace, engagement, and future use of video podcasts. With respect to explanations, we can take these are the statements here. So the podcast was easy to follow, and 63% agreed with that. The problem was well explained. Well, 55 agreed with that. All steps were explained clearly, 52%. I was confused by some steps. Now, the majority disagreed, but there was certainly a significant number that were confused. So these clips may have not been 100% successful. And then this podcast helped me understand, and 64% said yes on that. So we're getting indications that the majority are finding that the explanations were relatively successful or useful. In terms of learning features, well, 60% thought the writing was easy to read. 72% thought the diagrams helped them understand, and 47% felt that good tips were provided. So we'd say that the learning features were, the ones that were assessed, were reasonably successful. In terms of pace, if we take a look at the podcasts were too long, 55% disagreed, although a quarter agreed. The podcast went too fast, 64% disagreed. And then I used the pause feature to stop the podcast, and 78% didn't do it. So only a small portion had to stop the video podcast. In terms of engagement, one quarter thought they were boring, and it is mathematics, so perhaps that is somewhat reflective of that, but 52% actually disagreed with that. Now it's interesting that almost 80% liked using video podcasts better than textbooks. So that's something to be noted about the use of video podcasts, and that their preference for using them instead of textbooks. In terms of future use, focusing on homework, test review, and extra help, so those are possible uses, you have one half to almost 60% saying that they might be useful. They would agree that those could be useful. Video podcasts could be useful in those specific areas. Now, when we look at student understanding or immediate performance, we did a pre-test and a post-test. An independent t-test for all the concepts, because it was a small sample, revealed that post-test scores were significantly higher than pre-test scores. And let's take a look at that. We have 7% on a pre-test score, so these students did not know this concept. And after watching a clip that was roughly 4 to 6 minutes long, and they could have taken 10 minutes to watch that clip, depending on how much they paused, their grade on a post-test went up to 60%. That's quite a significant jump, 53% actually. And according to Cohn, that's a large effect size. So we can say in terms of short-term gains in learning, these clips were effective for at-risk students. Let's take a look at some of the limitations of this study. Well, student behaviors were not examined. We don't know what students were doing with the clips, where they were focusing, where they were stopping and starting, to what extent they were listening, and what they noticed. So if they did a think aloud or talked while they were doing the clip and we recorded that, we get a better idea of what they were doing with the actual clips. And we could also get some information from interviews or focus groups. I think more detailed information is needed to see how useful these clips are, and also to look at the specific impact of design features. We don't know which design features worked particularly well and those that did not, what distracted students and what really helped. Now, in terms of the data collection tools, we did not give reliability and validity estimates, specifically because this was a small group and it would have been hard to calculate those. And also this is a formative study. But in the future, we would like to establish the reliability and validity of the survey collection of attitudes, and the validity of the actual pre and post tests. Now, only 3 video podcasts were assessed, and we'd like to probably assess a wider range of podcasts. And the sample size, as I've said before, is quite small. We want to expand that, make it larger to see if these results are generalizable. And finally, as I mentioned earlier, this was short-term learning. So we'd want to see what the long-term impact was, perhaps studying the effect of video podcasts over 3 months and seeing whether students actually retained the concepts that they learned using video podcasts. If you have any questions, you can email me. There's my email address there, and there's my website to look at further publications, specifically in mathematics and video podcasts, if you like. Thank you for listening.